without you holding me up. Now I'm strong enough for both of us, both of us, both of us, both of us. I am a giant. Stand up on my shoulders. Tell me what you see. 'Cause I am a giant. We'll be breaking boulders underneath our feet. I am a giant. Oh, I am a giant. Don't hide your emotions. You can throw down your guard and feed from the notion. We can be who we are. You taught me something, yeah. Freedom is ours. It was you taught me living it. Togetherness, togetherness, togetherness. I am a giant. Stand up on my shoulders. Tell me what you see. 'Cause I am a giant. We'll be breaking boulders underneath our feet. I am a giant. Oh, I am a giant. I'm gonna shake, throw the weight in the dirt under me, yeah. I'm gonna shake, throw the weight in the dirt under me, yeah. I'm gonna shake, throw the weight in the dirt, yeah. I'm gonna shake, throw the weight in the dirt, yeah. I'm gonna shake, throw the weight in the dirt, yeah. I'm gonna shake, throw the weight in the dirt, yeah.
Hello, and a very big good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world today. We're really excited to have you join us today for the Valuable 500 What's Next live stream and to share our plans with you for phase 2. For those of you who I've not had the pleasure to meet yet, a huge hello from me. My name is Chris Wooding, and I've been Caroline's assistant, along with being her singing and dance partner for nearly 12 years now. Just to describe myself, I'm a white male with blonde brown hair, with a dark brown beard, wearing a pink t-shirt, and I'm sitting in front of a beige background. I know many of you will recognize my name after having me popping up to schedule many calls and meetings between you, Caroline, and the Valuable team over the last couple of years. So on behalf of myself and the rest of the Valuable 500 team, a massive, massive thank you for all of your support in phase 1. Before I hand you over to the stars of the show, our founder, Caroline Casey, and CEO, Joanna McGrath, I just have a couple of housekeeping items to raise with you all. To ensure our session is fully accessible, we have international sign available and captions in 4 languages: English, Japanese, French, and Spanish. You can choose which stream you would like to view using the labelled tabs. Please share questions you'd like to ask in Slido in the Q&A box, which can be found below the stream window. Please note that we are only able to take questions in English in the English stream. If you need to view a stream in another language and you would like to ask a question, please email claire@thevaluable500.com. Claire's email is also in the confirmation email you will have received when registering for this morning. Once again, thank you so much to you all for joining us, and I would now like to hand you over to Caroline and Joe.
My singing and dancing partner. Indeed, you have been. And actually, I was just dancing away to the music as we came on, and that line, "I am giant, breaking boulders under my feet." Like, for a moment, this is, for me, a lifetime, or it feels like life's work just here today. And together we are that giant. My name is Caroline Casey, for those of you who don't know me. I'm the founder and troublemaker behind the Valuable 500. To describe myself, I have blonde hair. I have a pair of Edna the Incredible glasses, which I quite like. I'm sitting behind a pale green background. I'm a white female. I'm calling from Dublin in Ireland beside my washing machine. And I'd like to point out the only language that was not on that welcome was Irish, which is Díagwich. So good morning in Gaelic and Irish to everybody. And before I pass over to Joe, I just want to take this moment. It's very rare in your life that you can have a moment that you've dreamed of and it comes true. 21 years ago, I came out of the disability closet when I was working for Accenture, where I'd been hiding since I was 17. Since that time, I have been committed to putting disability inclusion within the business agenda, and more importantly, raising it and elevating it to the CEOs of this world. And today, we are here to celebrate what you have done and to acknowledge, before we move on to phase 2, the extraordinary collective you have created. It wasn't easy. It has been a 21-year journey, but everything in its time. And this is the absolute best time. There are many moments in our life that we pass by and we rush on to the next thing. But for every one of you dialing in today, yes, you got your CEOs to sign, but it is you. You will understand the enormity of every one of your moves to make this historic global collective. Today, I just want you to feel really proud, and we're very grateful for your personal intention and the collective intention. Today, we are the Valuable 500, and we need to acknowledge that. Today, there is good news. But all of this never happens with one person alone. I Am Giant is the roar of so many people. And it gives me great, great pleasure to introduce my partner in crime, somebody who I have been lucky to have found just 2 years ago. And I feel like we are the two heads of unicorn for the Valuable 500. She is now my pal, honestly, a great mentor and advisor, and somebody who I truly enjoy mapping out the next few years of what we're going to achieve together. With great joy, I introduce Joanna McGrath, the CEO of the Valuable 500.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Caroline. I feel like it's a hard act to follow you and Chris. Brilliant energy this morning. I think you can probably all tell that we are incredibly, incredibly excited to be sharing our plans with you all this morning. And to just have you all here collectively. So as Caroline said, I am Joanna McGrath. I am the CEO here at the Valuable 500. There are very few of you I probably haven't spoken to at some point. There have been many, many conversations I've had with companies over the past 2 years as we've built the Valuable 500 to get to where we are today. I'm a white female with long curly brown hair. Also wearing glasses, similar-ish to Caroline's, sat in front of a pale grey background. And it's been my pleasure to work with Caroline and the Valuable 500 team since The Valuable 500 was launched at Davos in 2019. And we can't wait to share the phase 2 plans with you all today and tell you all about the strategy and the work that we're going to be doing together as a community.
So we're going to begin, and before we start speaking to you about phase 2, we are just going to take a moment to honor you. Every single one of you, every conversation that you had, every push that you did, every risk that you took. Because when you set out to do something like this, create the world's first CEO collective for disability business inclusion, the biggest move of business leadership ever for disability, let's be honest, they said we couldn't do it. And they said that it was way too early or too fast to consider being able to create something like this. But we did do it. And we did it because of you. Yes, this is the CEO collective, but it is you in the business who got your CEOs. And you are the reason we are here. All of you have made what we are today. Because now, together, we are the Valuable 500, transforming disability inclusion through you business. And just for a second, you have made this. This is yours. And together, we just have to take a moment of going, yeah, I've done something really good. Now, we're going to play you a video. And it's a little cheesy, but it's good cheesy, because one of the reasons I really believe the Valuable 500 has been able to push through. You see in our logo, the V, which has a strong, hard edge to it, and the heart. We have this beautiful combination of our heads and our hearts, our humanity and our business. And so this video will hopefully lift your spirits and at least make you smile. So enjoy. Team. We put disability inclusion center stage for the first time and made a worldwide call. So this is a crisis, but there is a solution to help end the disability inequality crisis by putting disability on the global business leadership agenda. One influential CEO stood with us, Paul Pullman, along with Virgin Media, Omnicom Group and One Young World. Together, we launched the Valuable 500 and asked 500 of the world's biggest business leaders and their brands to join.
500 companies, let's make it possible. Because difference is about humanity.
I'm so proud that Virgin Media has joined the Valuable 500.
All great leaders need to do the right thing by their people.
We need to make our organisations far more accessible and open to difference. We need to celebrate those differences.
Leaders with the ambition and influence to transform the global business system, shaping a society that includes everybody.
I do everything. Sometimes but always feel close in the most.
And now we have reached our milestone of 500 CEOs, representing over 20 million employees in 35 countries. These include some of the world's most influential organizations. Each and every one of our CEOs has committed to working together to bring real change. What began as a campaign is now a system change community, powered by the Nippon Foundation and supported by the World Economic Forum and the International Disability Alliance. This community of global pioneers will now work together to future-proof business, the economy and wider society.
I am on a mission to ensure that nobody gets left behind.
Together, we believe that everybody has value, everyone can be capable, and no one should be excluded. Thank you for joining us. Disability is our business. Yes, disability is our business together. And just so you know, we'll be announcing our final 500 on May the 18th. You are getting the sneak preview of phase 2 before anybody else. Now, we have 4 times as many companies vying for those last 13 places. We can't quite believe it. So the final group of you will be announced on May 18th. So very exciting. Now, you saw in the video, there was one CEO who stood with us and for us. Now, I had to ride across Colombia 5 weeks on a horse to the main stage of One Young World, which you saw in that film, to find that CEO, because I believed Paul Polman was the leader who could help make history with us. He was the first CEO to stand up with and for the disability community, and he has stood with us from that very first time on the 6th of October 2017. He got us onto the main stage in Davos in 2019, main stage. And of course, I cannot say enough, this is our chairman. He will stand with us right to the end. So here is Paul Polman.
Well, thanks to you all for signing up to the Valuable 500. You're an amazing group of leaders, 500 strong, and amongst the most respected companies in the world. You saw the benefit of tapping into the 1.3 billion people with disabilities and their $8 trillion spending power. You understood the power of creating an environment where each and everybody can develop to their fullest potential. And you understood the imperative of creating an inclusive economy that works for all and does not leave anybody behind. The demands on CEOs are enormous, and not all challenges can be solved alone. That's why you belong to this courageous collective. Not only to share and learn, but more importantly, to drive the needed systems changes, so we can change the face of disability once and for all. It is in our collective power to do so. We cannot stop until we translate the Valuable 500 into a valuable world for all. And that includes the 1.3 billion people with disabilities. Let's now use our collective forces and change the system for the better. As the African proverb goes, alone you can go fast, but together you can go far. Now is the moment to go far and leverage our collective weight and change disability into possibility, once and for all. Thank you very much.
And if you think that is a chairman who literally steps away and sees us from afar, he doesn't. He's very engaged. He wanted it to be the Valuable 5,000. And I said, I'd like to live. Right, Joe? We're like, no, Valuable 500. So maybe. This is a man who is very engaged and will put his full weight and networks behind us. Now, take a big breath, because I want you to see what we've built together. Here are the figures. Look at what you have built. Because together we have broken the global business leadership silence on disability inclusion for the first time in history. Now, here are your figures. We have 500 board level commitments, and we cannot underestimate that power. It represents 20 million employees in 35 countries. We are representing 64 sectors. I never even knew there was that many in the world. And most importantly, we have the power of 500 global supply chains. And we have 8 trillion in revenue. Look at that power and influence. So what are we going to do with this unprecedented collective influence, intention, and timing? Well, this is what we're going to do. Because together, we are going to hack a global business solution like no other, because we can. We can. And our ambition is so audacious, it will stop at nothing but radically transforming the global business system and to create an inclusive and accessible society for the 1.3 billion people in the world and their families with a disability. And that is 70% of our global economy. Think about it. And we know why we talk about business, but just to remind us, you are the most powerful force on the planet. It can only be you that could in some way hope to end the exclusion crisis that exists, because we believe in business. We buy from business, we work with business, we supply business, we create with business. Philanthropy comes from successful business. Business touches every single moment of our lives. And so the problem and the scale of the exclusion crisis in the world has to have business at the table. But business isn't just enough. So what's the most powerful force within business? Well, it is the business for sure, but it's also imperative we have the CEO. In the shadow and the light of a leader, leaders make choices. Those choices create culture. CEOs are possibly the most powerful leaders of our time. They can make change happen in a moment, a day, hours, that politicians wait years for. And we know no matter how brilliant you are in your business, right, how frustrating it is for you when you come up with ideas, but you can't accelerate and scale it if it doesn't have the attention of your CEO. The business will systemically change when the CEO is engaged. So our job was, we needed to get that missing piece. So business and the CEO, but there was one other piece, and that was the multiplier effect. Yes, we've seen 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 great companies and some CEO engagement, but the world is never going to change. The system is never going to change with one company and one CEO, but it could change if it had a collective. Now, for those of you who, like me, can't see, there is a slide here and it looks like a whole load of fireflies flying in the sky. Now, no dark sky can be lit by one firefly, but hundreds and thousands of fireflies, or 20 million fireflies, could light up the sky. Once again, might be cheesy, but it's true, that actually it's the power of the collective, of multiples, that can change the system. So we also know it's not just the CEO, but it's you. Hence, it's combining the force of the CEO and the 20 million employees and the supply chains that make what we stand with and for today so compelling. Because the reason we can have this audacious ambition is our USP, that we are the collective global influence and scale of 500 companies and their CEOs. That's why our audacious plan is achievable. So we've built this community with you. Now we want to activate and innovate with you for system change, because safety in numbers and because we can. And so we've come up with a plan. And that plan was designed with and for you, understanding what you needed at the top of your organizations to help you. But most importantly, this plan, because we're here for the disability community, has been supported by the disability community, stress tested by them, knowing and understanding the work that we're doing together will deliver change. So I want us to be very aware, I guess, when you think about, can this change happen? Let's have a quick look at how far we came in such a fast amount of time. We launched in Davos in 2019 on the main stage, as I said, no small special stage with 5 of the world's biggest CEOs. The year later, we had 250 CEOs. We broke all records. I mean, incredible. The following year, which is a few months ago, we announced our partnership with the Nippon Foundation, the World Economic Forum, and IDA. More on that later, but it's great news for you. And then by the end of April, we had way more CEOs and businesses interested. As I said, you will hear the announcement of that on May the 18th. With all this power, next Tuesday, we will launch phase 2 because of all we have done. And I am now delighted to pass over to Joanna, or Jojo, to get you through phase 2.
Thank you very much. Brilliant. Yes, thank you, everyone. So welcome to phase 2. Phase 1 has been all about us building this amazing global movement of 500 CEOs, as you all know, and as you have all worked towards. And we've been asking each of those CEOs and companies to commit to one action each. No matter what the size of the company, no matter what the size of the action, it's been about building this kind of amazing melting pot of small and big companies, global and national companies, small actions and massive actions to create this kind of this movement. Phase 2 is about all of those 500 CEOs and all of those 500 companies moving as one to affect change. So we have spent the past 2.5 years talking to thousands and thousands of companies. As Caroline said, she's spent a lifetime, over 25 years, talking to CEOs, talking to C-suite, and really listening to you, listening to all of you about what are the blockers to the system when it comes to disability inclusion. What are the challenges that you're all facing? And we have heard the same topics come up over and over again, no matter which geography, no matter which sector, no matter if a company is global in size or national, we've heard the same themes coming through. And we have used this information as our ongoing global focus group to develop our phase 2 strategy. And here it is. Well, here is the overview of our transformation program. So our transformation program focuses on 6 impact areas, the 6 that you can see on the screen here. That's C-suite, culture, customer, reporting, research, and representation. So on the right-hand side, you've got the 3 internal drivers where CEOs can directly impact their own organizations, whether that's their C-suite leadership team, whether it's the culture of their organization and the people that work for them, or whether that's their customers, of course, so the products that they make and the services that they provide. And then on the left-hand side of the slide, you'll see the 3 external drivers, where our CEOs could collectively stand together as a group of 500 to change and collectively influence the system through the lens of disability. So whether that's in the way that we collectively as a group report on our disability activity, whether it's the collective research that we do as a community, or whether it's the way that people with disabilities are collectively represented in your marketing, both external and internal. So we have designed solutions within each of these 6 impact areas to answer these challenges that we've heard our companies talking repeatedly about, that we've heard you talking repeatedly about, and also that we've heard the disabled community talking repeatedly about. And the exciting news is that these initiatives will be financed, they'll be created, they'll be developed, and they'll be tested by 13 of your peer companies from within the Valuable 500.
And this is the drum roll time.
Woohoo! Yes, drum roll. So meet the iconic leaders. This is a group of global CEOs and their teams who will be working with us to create the signature initiatives that I've mentioned and drive system change for people with disabilities. And here they are. So I'll give you a second to take those in, but we have 13 global CEOs and their companies who will be working with us, and we couldn't be more delighted to share with you today the names of the organizations that will be co-funding and co-creating with us in phase 2.
And it's important to say, we only went out to get Iconic 10, right?
We did. We started off with the Iconic 10. And obviously we thought, well, we should send out, more than 10 invitations to get 10. And then we got yes after yes after yes. And now, as you see before, you've got 13 amazing mega brands there. So we've got the global CEO of Sony in Japan, the global CEO of Mahindra in India, of Omnicom Global Communications, Verizon, Sky, Salesforce, and most recently we've had the global CEO of Google commit to being one of our iconic leaders. These are huge global giants that we are so proud to have standing by our side. Procter & Gamble, Allianz, Deloitte and EY, the London Stock Exchange Group, and we've also got the Director General of the BBC to make that final 13. So, and you'll see within that group, we have some companies in the same sector, but we fiercely believe, as do our iconic companies actually, that disability inclusion is a space where competition needs to be set aside for the sake of progress. Every single one of these leaders is committed to support us in our phase 2 journey to make businesses more inclusive for people with disabilities. And that is for employees and for customers. It's through the end-to-end value chain, and it's making sure that the world is more inclusive through the lens of business. So now you know who's supporting us. I'm going to take you through the impact areas one by one and the business solutions that each of these companies will be supporting alongside. So starting with the C-suite. The challenge that we hear repeatedly, that we've heard from all of you, is that there is ongoing leadership silence when it comes to disability. We need visible role models at the top of business with disabilities and talking about disability. As Caroline mentioned, we've had the magical Paul Polman talking about disability on his platform for the Valuable 500. Imagine the noise we could make if we had 50 Paul Polmans, or if we had 500 Paul Polmans. We want to change the narrative around disability in leadership through that power of storytelling, and through the power of storytelling to open up the conversation. So we will be working with all of our iconic leaders to share their stories around disability, both personal and business. And we will be encouraging our other 487 valuable leaders and C-suite teams to share their stories as well. And from a future C-suite perspective, we will be building a next generation group of 500 leaders with first-hand experience of disability, which we will be calling Valuable Minds. And what is unique about us is that this talent will come from our 500 companies, and we will run a reverse mentoring program with our CEOs. Culture. So the two challenges that we have heard consistently in the people space must have, from over 95% of companies, it's the first thing that people mention when we speak on calls. So first of all, how do we get an accurate read on our employee disability data? And secondly, how do we attract and retain disabled talent? Barriers around employees identifying as disabled, whether physical or invisible, and navigating the different legalities and legislations across markets for global organizations. So we are very excited to be announcing that we will be working with Deloitte and with Google on a global exercise to gather employee disability data across our 500 companies. We will also be working with Mahindra and with Salesforce on a methodology for Valuable 500 companies to more easily recruit people with disabilities. Customer. So I think we've all seen that there's lots of innovations happening in the disability space around the world right now, but there's just not enough. We want to see more. How can we as businesses get better at making our products and services inclusive and accessible, more inclusive and more accessible? And that's for B2C companies as well as B2B. Well, we are going to be working with Procter & Gamble and with Omnicom Group on a customer experience audit to answer this challenge, to help our companies identify both the blockers and the opportunities for disabled consumers to purchase. We will also be working with Verizon in the space of accessible technology to scale their Teach Access program beyond the US. Teach Access is a collaboration between a number of technology companies, including Verizon and Google, who are our iconic leaders, but also with Facebook, with Microsoft, with Apple, and a number of other tech companies. And they've been working with the universities in America to equip next generation students with accessibility skills. So we will be working with Verizon to connect those accessibility experts of tomorrow with the businesses of today. Reporting. So disability data is very limited publicly. I think you will all be fully aware of that, and often disability is actually completely excluded from both internal reporting when it comes to annual reports, but also external reporting when you look at the global indices. I think if we want to genuinely drive system change, then we need to collectively understand where we're starting from. So we want to encourage public disclosure of corporate disability data from all of our companies, which is a big ask, but it's an ask we're going to be making. We will be working with the London Stock Exchange Group, EY and Allianz to build a framework for both internal and external reporting of disability metrics. Research. So the most recent global report into disability from the World Health Organization was back in 2011, 10 years ago. There is just not enough global research done in the space of disability, and we want to change that as a community. So we will work with EY and with Sky on a global listening tool to uncover insights from disabled consumers around the world and to share them through insight reports with our companies. We want to hear the views of the global disabled community, and we want to start by asking them for direct feedback on our 500 companies. And then finally, representation. The world presented in advertising and the media should reflect the society it serves. But I think we would all agree that there is a huge gap in representation of people with disabilities, both in front of and behind the camera. There isn't a global metric on this due to the lack of global research, but to give some context, in North America, just in North America, less than 3% of characters seen on screen have a disability, which is woefully short of the 15% it should be, at least. So we will be working with the BBC to set a new visual standard for representation of people with disabilities, and working with Sony to build a media hub of creative assets and creative resources for our companies and their agencies to use in their marketing communications. So that is the full list of initiatives and the full list of impact areas. We will be starting work with our iconic leaders and their teams on these business solutions later this month, and there will be a phased rollout later this year and into next year. So that tells you what the iconic leaders will be doing, but what will the rest of the community doing? What will the rest of you be doing whilst you're waiting for these amazing initiatives to develop and be ready to roll out? So here we have our Chief Partnerships Officer, Crosby Cromwell. Crosby is based in Washington, DC, so I think it's about 3:30 in the morning there, so hence the little video. But Crosby will be responsible for the Valuable 500 community, both you as companies, but also our expert partners, our collaborators. So Crosby will be introducing herself to you all if she hasn't already in the coming weeks. Every single company will have a relationship manager, and we will be having a call with you once a quarter. We have lots of requests from all of you to connect the community, to network you all with each other. We get lots of questions around recommendations for ways to do things, and we really want to be able to help with those going forward. We absolutely plan to connect you through events, both virtual for now, but in real life when we're allowed to. And our first event will be called Valuable Virtual and will be happening on Tuesday, the 13th of July. So that's a date for your diaries. We will be continuing to work with our global data company, Mintel, to produce the quarterly trend reports that you've all been receiving. These reports are purely focused on disability and the first of their kind. The next issue will be going out to you all at the end of this month, so keep an eye out for those. And we will be continuing with our annual research to hear from you directly and to get your feedback. And then finally, with campaigning at our heart, we will be encouraging collective action across our global community at least once each year. So thank you to everybody who got involved in our IDPD campaign last year. But we believe that 500 of us making what we call a micro move each to create a global mega move once a year will have a huge impact and can start to kind of change that narrative. But Crosby will be in touch with you all over the coming weeks to tell you all about that. So hi Crosby.
Hi Crosby. Hope she's asleep.
Yeah. And we've also got a new home. So we're building the Valuable 500 a new home. This is going to be a fantastic digital platform to connect our fantastic global community virtually. And it will be a place for the teams from our 500 companies to network with each other, to share the work being done in the disability sector, in their market, but in their sector, so that we can have this really amazing, innovative space to share and to ask. We really want you to use this and have it as a thriving hub of activity. We see it, well, our brief to the agency is we want it to be one login that will give you 499 sources of information So we want it to be this amazing space for our companies to share and to ask questions and to help each other. And that will be launching towards the end of the summer. We're hoping for August or September, but we will let you know on that. So yeah, this is a 3-year transformation program, sort of starting now, and we are all on this journey together. Caroline and I talked about our KPIs and what success looks like, and to us, I think success looks like any one of any one of our companies committing to this journey with us and finding any one of the solutions that I've talked through useful in helping you to be more inclusive for people with disabilities, whether that's your employees or your customers. But if we are talking about genuine system change and we want to have genuine system change success, then that means all of us being on this journey all together and all of us working across all of these initiatives to start genuinely shifting the dial. This community has already done a great thing. I think Caroline captured it beautifully earlier, but in finding each other, we have done a great thing. We've actually done one great thing 500 times as a community. And in doing that one great thing of getting our CEOs to sign and commit their name and their signature to driving change, we have repeatedly broken the leadership silence around disability and come together as a community. So every one of your leaders has given their personal commitment to take action on disability. Just imagine the amazing things we can do together if we all pull in the same direction to make change happen. Our goal, our dream is that all 500 of us will work in this direction together. And then when we get to 2024, we'll have incubated these amazing solutions that we can then release out to the rest of the world. So yeah, that's the exciting plan. And back to Caroline, who's going to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, but don't worry, there'll be enough KPIs and targets as well. But I think we just need to look at the intentionality of the open sourceness of what we're doing. We're incubating. U500 essentially are creating the solutions to change the system change for 2024, regardless of where you are. Now, the next slide I think really captures, and I think Joe spoke about it, we're in this together. It's going to be as strong and as great a community for all that we put in. We, the Valuable 500 team, are here to serve you as the community so we can serve society. And it really requires us to act together, to challenge each other. We are going to innovate, we're going to fail, but the whole point is that we're in it together. And so for those of you who don't see so well, there's a beautiful image. Now, I found out this was starlings. I thought it was swallows. It's called a murmuration, and it's when, if you look up in the sky, you can see starlings moving together. It is absolutely incredible to see. I think all of us who have witnessed it or felt it. This is the symbol of the Valuable 500. Look what you can do when we act in symphony and when we act together. And I think that's what I want you to feel inside. Sometimes work feels overwhelming and too much or whatever. Joe said it beautifully. We're not asking you as a company or you as an individual to change the world, but to be part of a collective that will be unstoppable, that we can't ignore, that will move to make great things happen. And that beautiful concept is right at the heart of the culture of our community we build together. And I just want to speak to you about our philosophy. We call it intelligent magic. And the reason we say this is it's sort of like everything on the Valuable 500 that I spoke to before, with the hardness of the V and the heart of our logo. There's something really potent when you get the two extremes and they cross over. There's something beautiful about intelligent magic. You need to have the processes, the pragmatism, the shared best practice, but you've got to believe as well. You've got to believe that possible is possible. And I stand here, I guess, as evidence for that, voice wobbling, because believe me, when you remortgage a house and you put your 21 years life and people are looking at you going, really? It's not possible. You've got to believe it is. And I think right now, right at the core of us saying we have enough belief in magic, but we also have the pragmatism. We have the head and the heart. We have the stats and the story. And these are some of the principles that we are working to as a community, which are quite different to when I would have come into the disability inclusion space years ago. The first one is intersectionality. By the way, we love our alliteration, you know, our 3 C's and our 3 R's. Now we're on to our 4 I's. Intersectionality is we believe in full inclusion for everyone. Inclusion means all. And so when we talk about disability inclusion, we do this through the intersectional lens. I am a woman, I have a disability. We come in multiple packages. We can't have only one aspect of ourselves. We have to try and ensure that the whole human being is represented. The second one is we believe in the power of the next generation. It is a very different time. That next generation have tools that we did not have, if you're like me, nearly 50. And that's why we have this reciprocal mentoring program to really learn and get the intelligence from this community in a different way than we would have before. The next one is around integration, and I think this is very important. Before, in any of our disability practices, that we would have had standalone tools or standalone research or standalone indexes. Now our job is to integrate it, to make it easier for you, to build in disability inclusion into your businesses, into systems that you already have existing, so it's more cost effective and more resource effective. And interconnectedness. This is not the responsibility, disability inclusion, or any diversity and inclusion of the CHR alone. We cannot drive system change if it is into one function. It is across the full supply chain, and it is our job to motivate and compel and educate every function in the business to see how this community can build insight and innovation and growth opportunity for the full business. The last 2 are around collective collaboration. We have spoken to that. But this one is probably the most important of all, the last, safe to fail. We do not expect our companies to know everything. Actually, it's okay that you know nothing. It's not okay you don't do something. Our whole piece of learning in the last 2.5 years, but also from what I've been doing for a long time is, do you know the real greatest barrier that people are so worried to move on this is are so scared of getting it wrong. They're so scared of being cancelled. They're so scared that it won't have the return on investment. And so we're creating a community where we can break down those barriers with confidence together. And if we're going to innovate, we're going to fail, and that's okay. But it's about the intention of moving forward. So this is a game-changing ambition. Well, it was big. And by the way, when we started this campaign, if we stopped now, it still would have been something we should be hugely proud of. But why would we leave an opportunity like this on the table when we have the power of this community? But you need more support as a community. Yes, we had Paul Polman. Yes, we had Omnicom, One Young World, and Virgin Media. But we need a much bigger ecosystem to support all of us going forward. And here you have it. You're going to have your phase 2 partners, your iconic partners, your advisory board, your system supergroup, and your collaborators. And here is some great news for all of you. The phase 2 partners, as we announced, are the Nippon Foundation IDA, your iconics, and the World Economic Forum. Now, the World Economic Forum and the International Disability Alliance are our global platform partners, meeting the needs to ensure of the disability community and the business community. The Nippon Foundation. This gives us huge pride. We are very aware of you as businesses, the constricting level of resources that are available to you. We also are aware that we want whatever resources that you have in your budgets to go into helping you in your business. We did not want to come to you in phase 2 and say, hi, this is a membership fee, because that takes away from your pot. So we have now been lucky enough to announce the Nippon Foundation have given us a $5 million investment to pay for the team of the Valuable 500 for the next 3 years, to ensure that you as business, when you truly put your hand in your pocket, will put your hand in your pocket to support you, not us. They are supporting us. This is the biggest singular financial investment into disability business inclusion ever. It is backed by the Japanese government. And I have to say, it is an endorsement, both what we've built together and what our plans are for the future. Now I'm going to hand over for a 2-minute film from our impact partner. Listen to the first 2 lines of this because it makes me chuckle.
I am very happy and excited to announce we have 500 valuable companies and are able to move to the next phase. Investing $5 million in a 2-year-old social enterprise was not an easy decision for the Nippon Foundation to take. But we took it because we believe the Valuable 500 can become a fundamental game changer, transforming the way people with disabilities are supported and revolutionizing disability inclusion. The Nippon Foundation has supported persons with disabilities and pursued the goal of a diverse and inclusive society for over 50 years. For instance, we created a deaf education system in Vietnam, enabling deaf children to study in sign language from primary school through to university. It took 20 years. We developed programs to train local prosthetic and orthotic professionals to international standards in 6 Asian countries. This has taken 30 years. We have worked with NGOs, governments, and international organizations on these projects. But missing has been business, the most powerful and influential sector on the planet. The Valuable 500 has taken up the challenge of bringing inclusion commitment into the global CEO community, not based on the concept of social welfare, but strengthening the economic benefits of employing people with disabilities. This is truly a new approach. 500 of the world's leading companies assuming a leadership role in disability inclusion, which we believe will give birth to fresh thinking and lead to new solutions to global issues. We sincerely hope that together with you all, we will be able to achieve a better world by using this new platform, the Valuable 500, to the fullest extent.
I love the honesty of that. It was very hard to give 5 million over. It wasn't, and we actually have a great relationship. We'll be talking to the Nippon Foundation straight after this call, and Japan has been a phenomenal support for both the country and the businesses from Japan. Actually, there are, I think Japan pro rata has given the most companies into the Valuable 500. Now, the iconic leaders, Joe spoke to you about this. I don't need to repeat it, but once again, this shows that business has skin in the game. So we are funded both from business and from philanthropy. If we move on to their next very important group who are going to hold us to account. A lot of people speak, how do we hold our companies to account? Well, we've lots of ways of doing that, but who's going to hold us to account? And this is our advisory board chaired by Paul Pullman. Every single one of our members of our advisory board have a direct and connected experience to disability and come from very different backgrounds and experiences. Their sole job is to challenge us to ensure that we are accountable to you, the community, so the community is accountable to what we have agreed to do. Now, I am really worried that I'm not going to be able to remember everybody's name, so I'm going to ask Joe, because I can't see the slide, to just read out for those of you like me who are vision impaired. Joe, will you go through the names for me?
Of course. So we've got Paul Pullman, of course, our chairman, Sadia Zahidi, who is one of the managing directors at the World Economic Forum, Ashiro Kabasawa, who you've just seen speak at the Nippon Foundation, Jeff Dodds, COO at Virgin Media, who has been one of our big sponsors for phase 1. A number of business leaders. We have Natasha Muller, Rosalind Blair, Neil Milliken, and Catherine Garrett Cox, who are our business leaders. Eddie Ndopu, who is one of the UN ambassadors. Greg Nugent, who's producer of Rising Phoenix, for those of you who may have seen it on Netflix, among lots of other things that Greg does in the creative world. And then Rennie Manfredi, who is one of the Special Olympics athletes.
And the next group, aside from our advisory board, is the System Supergroup. I'm going to get Joe to run through these names for you, but what's really important for us to know, the business system operates in a far greater social system. We need to ensure, if collaboration is truly at our heart, that we support all of these global institutions' initiatives around disability, and that we work in parallel, supporting each other, because then we can actually join up the dots and move collectively together, ensuring that we are conserving energy, time, and resources. This group will be chaired by Vladimir Cook of the International Disability Alliance, and their job will be to ensure that our strategy is meeting the needs, that we continuously pull ourselves to account, and that we have strong targets to reach. Joe, could you read out each of the institution names for us?
Yes, of course. So we have the ILO GBDN, the UN Global Compact, Special Olympics, GAAD, GAD, the World Health Organization, UNESCO, Global Citizen, Project Everyone, One Young World, who were one of our big sponsors again in phase 1, IAAP, the World Bank, and the International Paralympics Committee.
So you can see we pretty much have everybody in our supergroup, but this is really important to make sure that we have collective thinking, collaboration and support. And very lastly, for those of you who know that you do not have the expertise within your business to be disability business inclusion experts, we have worked with several in our first phase expert partners, and we have friends around the world who represent all the expertise and solutions that you need. And so when we will be launching our digital hub, we'll be announcing our directory of what we believe are some of the best vendors, subject matter experts, and global solution partners for you. We're going to try and make it easy for you. So wherever you are in the world or whichever particular area of interest, we can point you to what we believe is to be the right partners. Mm-hmm. And as we come to the end, and very lastly, who is here to support you? Well, you know many of, or many of us know many of you. This is the Valuable 500 team. This team has grown, nearly doubled in size over the last few weeks. As I say, for anybody who does this work as a founder, it can be incredibly lonely. And I'm often asked is what makes you, what is your proudest moment? This is my proudest moment. This slide, this team who have really, and I mean committed energy and time. And there's some people have been with me 4 years, and most of them have gone through that we have no money, how can we do it? I've never seen such a genuinely a positive group of people. And I want to introduce each of them waving there. Richard Poston and Chris, you just met Chris, who's been with me for a long time, but Richard Poston, also similarly, Richard is our Director of Comms. Crosby, you were introduced to Crosby, who is over in DC and our Director of Partnerships. The wonderful Claire Bentnall, who I have been working with for the 1,000, and I mean 1,000 of events that we have been hustling at, Claire, I guess. And she is our Director of Events. Chloe has joined us as our Chief Marketing Officer as of 2.5 weeks ago, baptism of fire. Maribel, who is working with us from Lebanon, is our Head of Social Media and is doing a phenomenal job. You see Sarah waving there. She's our Director of Operations, making sure that we actually have all the things that we need to do to have a business running functionally. And then we have Karis Miller, who many of you will have spoken to, and she is now our Head of Marketing. And there is this fabulous team. And our job is here to serve you and to work with you as we work together to make the change happen. So we come to the end, and before I move on, I want to say 2 very quick things. We will be announcing this on May the 18th. That is a week away. You will all be getting on Thursday a social media toolkit and pack. And we ask you to raise your corporate voice to make sure that the world knows that what we've done together. So by Thursday, you will be having that, and whatever way you want to celebrate your part of this, please do. It is your moment just as much as ours. So before we go on to phase 2, you did this, we did this. So be proud, be really proud. And I am, but I'm so proud of all of us together and what we've done. So as we move forward, if it feels like it's overwhelming, this big ambition, it's not. Yeah, the challenge is big, but nothing as big as first phase. But it can be done because I know we've done this far, and that was the hardest part, was to start. But this time we can do it because we've got this plan that you created with us, this plan that has shown us what you need, this plan that has been in focus group for nearly decades. Mm-hmm. And also what we have is we have you, the 500 shortcuts to change with the power of all your business have to offer. And we also have, remember, our 13 iconic leaders and the power of their businesses and their supply chains. And lastly, we have our 500 companies. The reason we called it 500 was it was silly. It was Fortune 500. That sounds amazing. What would it be like if it would be the Valuable 500? We are the Valuable 500. And we are right now about to change together the global business system. Because remember, disability is our business, and this is our business. And this is our time. This is the time that we can do it. And we're all talking about building back better, but we will build back better. And we will do that together. Wow. So, thank you. I want to say a big thank you to other partners in our teams Attendable for today's event. This is our first webinar. We've been attending many over the years. Also for MyClearText to do the captioning and interpreting matters for our interpretation. So a huge thank you to everybody. I'd like to a particular shout out to Claire, who has organized the event today, and to our marketing team, Karis and Chloe, for doing such a phenomenal job. So for you, this is it. This is the piece that we have. You get it 7 days before anybody else. And we would love, if you'd like, for question and answers. And if we have time for any, we'll take them now. But we're here. We're not going anywhere. We're here always. So a huge thank you from Joe and I. Joe, do you want to say anything to sign off?
Only let's get a couple of questions in if we can, if there have been any kind of burning questions. I think you've covered it all brilliantly, Caroline. So hi, Chris. Welcome back.
Hiya.
Hi.
Thanks so much, Caroline and Joe. We've had a good few questions come in, so thank you so much to you all for submitting those. Unfortunately, as you can see, we're nearly out of time, so I won't have enough time to go through them all today. But if I don't read yours out, please do feel free to email claire@thevaluable500.com and we will make sure we come back to you.
And also, if there are any recurring ones, we'll be sending the link the record link for this session. So we will happily answer those as part of that email if there's some burning questions.
Sure thing. So hot seat time. What is the plan after the first 500 companies are signed on? What will the membership model look like for subsequent companies looking to sign up?
No, that's a great question. It's the one we're asked all the time. So very quickly, we're going to answer this. The community is going to make a decision. The iconic leaders will be meeting in the UN General Assembly because we want to acknowledge that you were the first 500. Like, we spoke to 5,000 companies. So hold on, let's just give credit where it's due. And you are the 500. 500 plus, that will be down to you as a community, and it will be down to the leaders. And we should probably have an answer on that I'm hoping by the first quarter of next year. Joe, anything else to add on that one?
No, we're just glad to be at 500. And I think, like you say, it's those first 500 that we want to celebrate.
Great. How will companies be held accountable for delivering their commitments?
I can answer that. Well, I think you probably all know the CEO has signed from the top to hold you accountable for your commitments. And part of what the CEO has signed to say on the commitment statements that each and every one of you has sent in is that we will share this with our business. We will tell our business that the CEO has signed, that we are now a member of the Valuable 500, that this is the action we have committed to. And we fully expect the 20 million employees of our community to hold their leadership accountable as well. So go on, Caroline.
Oh, well, no, and also remember, we're in the world of social media. So, but our biggest problem is not holding you guys to account. It's that most of you have done your commitments and you're wanting to do more. Yeah. So it's more keeping on top of the progress. And that is true. That's not us faking it. That is real.
Okay, guys, I'm going to try and squeeze one more in. This is really exciting. Why do you believe that now is the right time for the movement to make real, lasting change?
One sentence, why did it take so long? Joe?
Yeah, why not now? I mean, why not now? But also this last 12 months, I think we've all been in a global pandemic. People have been feeling collectively excluded. So there's been a very different conversation happening this last 12 months than was happening the first 12 months. We've seen an influx in chief diversity officers across businesses around the world. There are a lot of companies that want to be on the front foot around disability and not sort of worrying, not making the same mistakes that might have been seen in other spaces over the last 12 months where there hasn't been a strategy, there hasn't been a plan. How do we make sure that we are being as inclusive across all areas of the diversity mix?
And I think CEOs are being really pushed to be very human leaders. I think we're entering a decade we call it the decade of disruption, very human-led business. But the most important part of it is, I think we're starting to realize that 70% of the global economy that are touched against disability is a really really incredible opportunity for differentiation, insight, growth that we may not have seen before, but we have seen through COVID and a lot of the tools that we've been using. So it's sort of like an opening or an awakening. It's like the moment of reckoning.
Thanks so much, guys. I'm afraid that's all we have time for. So it's over and out from me, and I'll leave Caroline and Joe to say goodbye to you all.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. I'm ready to start dancing to I Am Giant again. Have a cup of coffee.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for getting up early or staying up late to dial in and to hear our plans. We'd love to hear your feedback. We're here, as Caroline says, we're not going anywhere. So we'd love to hear from you, but thank you so much.
And thank you to everyone.
Bye.
I understood loneliness before I knew what it was. Saw the pills on your table for your unrequited love. I would be nothing without you holding me up. Now I'm strong enough for both of us, both of us, both of us, both of us. I am a giant. Stand up on my shoulders. Tell me what you see. 'Cause I am a giant. We'll be breaking boulders underneath our feet. I am, I am, I am, I am, I am, I am a giant. Oh, I am, I am, I am, I am, I am, I am the giant. Don't hide your emotions. You can throw down your guard and feed from the notion we can be who we are. You taught me something, yeah. Freedom is out. It was you taught me living it. Togetherness, togetherness, togetherness. I am a giant. Stand up on my shoulders. Tell me what you see. 'Cause I am a giant. We'll be breaking boulders underneath our feet. I am, I am, I am, I am, I am, I am a giant. Oh, I am, I am, I am, I am, I am, I am the giant. I'm gonna shake, roll the weight in the dirt under me, yeah. I'm gonna shake, roll the weight in the dirt under me, yeah. I'm gonna shake, roll the weight in the dirt, yeah. I'm gonna shake, roll the weight in the dirt, yeah. I'm gonna shake, roll the weight in the dirt, yeah.